Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Marsha. You're back.
I am. It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah, I feel bad making you podcast on the morning after you got back.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I got back last night. I don't know. By the time I got to the house, it was 7, I think. And I hadn't seen the dog, so I had to have a little, cuddle time with the dog. And I was just exhausted. And so, but I did look at my calendar last night and went, oh, I have to record tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
Why did I schedule that? Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, but people probably want to know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm.
Do tell.
So I have not talked about this in the podcast before, but my brother is moving. He bought a house in Rancho Mirage, California, which is near Palm Springs. As you know, we've been going down there. And because we have friends who bought a house there a year ago, I think, March. And he really loves it. So he's bought a house, and we went down. We left Sunday the 9th, and we just got back yesterday. What is that, Kelly? I was listening to the podcast, our last episode, and I was going on about dates. I'm kind of like that. This episode, what day of the week is it? And so this is Monday, the
17th.
17th, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we went down, we were there Sunday the 9th through the 16th, and to be there to get the house ready, because this is very common in this area for people to sell the houses with the contents. Because so many of these homes are vacation properties, and a lot of people just want to buy they don't want that furniture to take it back to their other house.
Right.
Because they don't have room for it, or they want to just sell it complete. So then people who want to buy a house for vacation can just move right in and not have to go out and find furniture. Mm-hmm. But this house has been sitting, I believe, 4 years unoccupied. An older couple, and they've had to, I don't know the whole story, but I think they're in assisted living. And so the house is being sold for their care. And so someone would just come. We heard from the neighbors that somebody would come once a year to check on the house, but otherwise it's been sitting. So it's a little dusty in there. And then, of course, Mark doesn't want the furniture that they have because he has his own furniture, because he's going to be living there, year round. So we went down to clear the house out, to move all the furniture and, linens and kitchen items, pots and pans and dishes. We boxed all of that up and called a thrift store to come and take it all. And then he has a friend who also took some of the furniture for her resale shop. But anyway, we took care of that, and then that was on Monday. And then Tuesday, the truck with his belongings arrived, and they unloaded everything in the house. And that was that was very busy, because every box that comes in, my job was to check it off where it, that we had received it. Mm-hmm. And then Mark had to tell them where it went. But he had to leave. He had something he had to take care of, so he left in the middle of all this. So I was on my own for about an hour and a half or longer. It felt like 4 hours, but I was on my own trying to tick off, send to different directions. And anyway, it was a lot. But anyway, so we received the furniture on Tuesday, and then started unpacking a few things, like trying to find his vacuum cleaner so we could vacuum. And anyway, it was quite a busy trip. We did go out to dinner a couple times, and had dinner with friends, and had lunch one day with some friends. So it was fun, but I brought my swimsuit, but we never used the pool because there was no time. And it was not a vacation. It was a working trip.
Yeah.
But he's going to be down there year round. So, he has 3 bedrooms. So he'll have 2 guest rooms. So people can go down there and visit. So it'll be kind of nice. And everybody has 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. He doesn't have a private pool, but the pool is just about, I don't know, 100 feet from his house. And so it's quite nice. But he has some work to do because it is a bit outdated, but it's all cosmetic. The house is really good. It's just needs an infusion of cash. And all will be right with the house. So I'm back. And I think he's here staying with me now at my house because he can't stay in his house here in Seattle because there's no furniture in it. But he has to do some work to the house. He has to. Yeah. I mean, he lived there close to 30 years, I think. And so he has to paint and patch the walls where all the painting, all the nail holes.
All the stuff you have to do to get ready to sell. Yeah.
Yeah, and have it staged. So as soon as it's ready to sell, then he's going to go back down to California and work on his house down there because he doesn't need to be here in Seattle when the house is on the market. The real estate agent will take care of everything, and the sale will all take place. I don't know what you call that. Virtually, online, remotely, whatever.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, so that's the big news around here.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a shock to the system that he's moving, but it will. It seems like he's going to be really happy down there, and it seems like it's very community oriented. The community that he's living in, they've already reached out to him that when he comes back, probably beginning of May, he'll go back down there. So he thinks that's when he'll get the house ready to sell here. They're going to have a cocktail party for him to welcome him to the neighbors. So he can meet all the neighbors. And so that's really nice.
That's really nice.
It seems like it's very, very friendly people. So in that community. So I will say it is a little bit of a shock to the system that it's desert. And when I fly out, you fly in or out of Palm Springs, it's like desert. Yeah. It's in the and the reason it's green around houses and restaurants and stuff because they water 5 times a day. Our friends, they water 5 times a day.
Oh my gosh.
To keep the lawn green. I know it doesn't seem right to me, but anyway, you fly out and then you fly back into Seattle and it's like there's a reason why it's called the Emerald City because it's so green. Yeah. And blue water and green trees. And so it's kind of a shock to the system. And then I think the other thing that's going to be different is in my neighborhood and a lot of Seattle, I can walk to the hardware store. I can walk to a coffee shop. If need be, I can walk to the grocery store. Here, you have to drive everywhere. You can't, because there are all these gated communities. You can't, and it's hot. And once you walk out the gate, they're just these arterials where they're traveling at about 55 miles an hour. So it's not really walkable in that sense. I think that's going to be something that's going to be different is, and especially when I lived in my other neighborhood, my goodness, I could go to the grocery store, I could go to the bank, I could go to the bakery, I could go to the mini mart, I could do all this stuff just by walking.
It's not city living.
No.
Right. I mean, that's the part of the difference. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's one of the things like and the way he lives now, like he needs milk. He just, he doesn't buy groceries for the week. He just buys it as he needs it. And I think he's going to have to change how he shops to get his stuff for the week. Otherwise, every day you're getting in the car and driving 20 minutes to the grocery store,
Yeah. Or he could do like Aunt Betty and order.
That's true.
She goes and picks it up. But she got really like the online grocery shopping during the pandemic. And she's not as mobile.
I like that too.
She's not as mobile, and so it's it's convenient for her to go pick it up. So Robert shops for us now mostly. I mean, she'll pick up stuff for us too if we need it, but she's mostly shopping for herself now, and she just does it by by pickup. But sometimes she has like a credit, and then she'll use her credit to get delivery, or she'll get like a gift card from someone, for grocery delivery, and so she'll use that to have it delivered. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a new adventure. A new era that we're entering. New adventure, yeah.
Yep. Mark will be having a new adventure. Yeah. And you'll get to watch from the comfort of your blue and green city.
I know, my blue and green city, yeah. It is, okay, I don't want to say anything, but, I don't want to be negative. I'm trying not to be negative about this, but it's so dry in the desert, and then you get off the plane, you're just hit with moist air, and you're like, oh my, you feel like you can breathe again? I don't know what it is. It's
okay.
There's something,
There's just something funny.
Anyway.
There's just something funny about that statement. It's just so dry in the desert. Yeah.
But when I went down there at Christmas time, I'm completely fascinated by the desert landscape and the plants but then I feel like I'm shriveling up too.
Yeah.
And like this morning I thought I have to put conditioner on my hair because it's like I feel like my hair dried out in just 7 days down there. It's weird. Anyway, I think when you live down there, if you live in a desert environment, you learn how to stay hydrated,
right?
Just because it's interesting. You drink a lot of water. I would have, I drink a ton of water down there, but I just think you have to learn how to keep drinking water and how to moisturize. That's probably what it's all about, drinking water and moisturizing.
Yes, having the great face cream.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, okay. Let's get on to the real podcast.
Okay.
Oh, first of all, we have to do a thank you.
Oh, yes. We have a new patron, Bobby Joe. Thank you, Bobby Joe, for joining us on Patreon. I recognize the name, so I don't know if she's a returning patron or if I recognize the name from Instagram or Ravelry. But anyway, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And if anyone else would like to join our Patreon, it's patreon.com/2Us. And you can find us there. And then we also had a question, some feedback, let's just call it, from Exploration Sandra. And I think Sandra has been with us. I think she's been with us for almost since the beginning, maybe since the very beginning of the podcast. That's another Ravelry name that I really recognize. Anyway, she says that she likes the in-depth project updates. She learns a lot from our experiences, so that's good. We do give the in-depth project updates. Sometimes I wonder how much detail people really want from our project. So that's good. That's really good feedback.
Yeah.
So she says she does all of the string crafts, so it's always a win for me. And then she also says she enjoys time management ideas. She misses the updates on the chickens and the bees. She likes all the other updates on all the stuff we do. And then she says, I just enjoy sharing in your delightful friendship. Never stop sharing your friendship, please. So I thought that was really nice. I think that was a fun message to get. And I guess as long as we stay friends, we can share it, huh, Marsha?
Yeah, really.
We've been friends this long. I don't see any end to that. So
yeah, no, I don't either. Well, that's very nice. Yeah. So, but you have an update on chickens.
I do have an update. Yeah. So. The reason I don't have updates on the bees is because they've been basically keeping themselves. I have one colony that made it through the winter, and they seem to be going strong. No thanks to my help. It is true. The bees know how to do it by themselves. They really do. But that also means sometimes you lose your colony, right? As they swarm, and then the old colony dies. Sometimes you don't keep your colony. So anyway, this is not a bee update. It's a chicken update. So one day in probably November, Robert noticed an extra chicken in the yard. And so we've had this chicken coming in, and probably was a chick last summer at some point, because it was I think a fairly young chicken. We didn't know if it was a hen or a rooster. Now we know she's laying, so obviously she's a hen. She's very dark red, and she's not. I looked up the what are they called? The not Rhodesian, Rhode Island red chicken, and she's not puffy like that. She's very sleek, and I think that she's probably a hen of one of the breeds of fighting chickens. You know, the chickens that they raise for cockfighting. She really looks like a jungle fowl. She's very slim and not so much scrawny, like she's not well fed, but just very muscular looking and just a different build than our laying hens. But she is laying, and she's slowly but surely, incorporated into our flock. She's not totally incorporated with them, but she'll be in the outskirts. Back in November, I thought she would be roosting with our chickens by the middle of December, but that didn't happen. And so then Robert was able to close her into our tractor at night, and we left her in there for like a week, thinking that, that would help her get accustomed to roosting in our coop instead of in the orange tree in the neighbor's yard, which is where she goes. And so left her in there for a week, let her out. She went right back to her old roost. And we tried it again and kept him in longer. But 5 chickens cooped up in our tractor is a lot. It's a little cramped in there. It's okay for chickens that get along, but they were picking on her, and she was, always running around trying to get away from one of them in particular, who's not so nice. Holly, the barred rock, is not very nice to her. So anyway, what we ended up doing is just letting them out again. And she goes off to roost in her orange tree, and the other chickens come home to roost in the chicken tractor. But she goes into the tractor to eat. She goes into the tractor to lay. When we're going to keep our chickens in for, like today, we'll probably keep the chickens in because we go to dog class tonight. Then Robert puts out a separate food dish for her. So she has, she's ranging in the yard, but she also has the option to have some chicken food, some crumble, whatever they call it. So yeah, we have a new chicken. We call her Helen. Helen Reddy.
Now,
because she's so red.
Who's Helen? Oh,
do you remember Helen Reddy?
Yes, I do.
Our younger listeners will have no idea who we're talking about. Singer.
Well, I was trying to think. Helen, which first lady was Helen?
Yeah, no,
because originally the chickens were all named after the first ladies.
Yeah.
Now you've moved on to flowers, right?
Yeah.
But no, Helen, right? So now you're going to move into singers.
I don't know. I just one day I just thought you look like your name should be Helen, because she's such a nice dark red color. Helen Reddy. So anyway, that's the chicken update.
Okay.
Now we're ready for projects.
Yeah. You can sell those eggs for a lot of money now, Kelly.
I know. I know. Yeah.
Because are the chickens producing on about an egg a day?
Yeah.
Or every other day?
It's the time of year where they're really producing heavily, or they're starting to produce heavily. So we've been eating a lot of deviled eggs and egg salad, and I like to have eggs for breakfast. So now that we've done all the chit chat, Marsha, why don't you tell us about your projects?
Okay. There's not a whole lot to talk about. I will just, I've done no weaving at all because I've been gone. And I have, anyway, the 2 things I've been working on. Oh, and actually, I see I didn't even put this in here. My socks. I have been, do you remember, Kelly, when we were down, I think I talked about this in the last episode. I can't remember. But when we were down at Stitches and we bought some yarn. I'm pulling it out. You bought the yarn. Do you remember? And we each bought a ball of it, and you held the two together, and you held it double, and you made like little footies. Do you remember that yarn? Was it? We bought it like at Craftsy or Red Heart or something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what booth that was?
It was like a Knit Picks Felici, or
That's it.
Is it striping?
Yes, it's Knit Picks. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Knit
one
Picks.
I'm doing is called Hawaiian Shirt, and it's yellow, brown, kind of a taupe, navy, and then it goes into like an aqua, a really pale blue, and then a really super pale blue, and then back in. And it makes stripes that are about a 1/2 inch. And so I cast those on at the beach. So I just been working on those socks, but I realized I didn't put it in my projects. I have to add that. And then
that's a pretty deep stash.
That's very deep stash. The reason I pulled it out is it seems like all my socks are sort of the same colors, and I wanted to do something. Or recently, it seems like the socks I've been making are all sort of the same color. So I decided I want to do something, just a different color palette. So that's why I pulled this out. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that I've been working on a lot, and I talked about this in the last episode, is the Weekender. And so I brought it with me. I didn't get a lot of time to knit in California, but I did knit. And I have now have divided for the sleeves, the armholes, I should say, divided for the armholes, and I have knit the back. You knit up to the shoulders, where you're going to put your shoulder seam in, and then you put the shoulders on waste yarn, and then you bind off for the neck. And so I've done that, and now I've done probably 3.5 inches of that was the front. I've done the back now. I'm working on the back. So I have to knit up.
Okay.
And I will say, do you remember the whole discussion? I have a couple things to say about this pattern. Is the last episode I was talking about, because I didn't get gauge, I was making the smaller size. And I put it on waste yarn, and I've tried it on. I think it's going to be plenty big. I was kind of concerned maybe I would not have enough ease, but it's plenty. The armholes you were supposed to knit up, I think it was 3 inches, and I decided to follow the size on the armholes for the larger size. So I did 5.5 inches, and I've tried it on. I think it's perfect. Because I did not want them to be, as I said in the last episode, I think that sometimes when you make the smaller size, even though the circumference is okay, the row height is sometimes the armholes can be too not deep enough. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think these are going to be fine.
Yeah.
I will say, when you get to, you put the shoulders on waste yarn, and then you're supposed to take all the knits for the neckline. You're supposed to put all the knit stitches on one needle and all the purl stitches on a second needle. And then it says do a Kitchener stitch to bind them off using the Kitchener stitch. I know how to do Kitchener in stockinette. I was looking for a YouTube video to do Kitchener stitch in 1x1 ribbing. I could not find one. And I could not find one that showed how to do Kitchener stitch in ribbing with your knit stitches on one needle and your purl on another needle. I could not find that anywhere. So I finally just put all the stitches back on to one needle, and because I was able to find a Kitchener stitch with just your knit and purl stitches on one needle. It was from Purl Soho, I believe. And I did that.
Okay.
I don't think it's a very good looking bind off. It's a little rough looking. Maybe it's how I did it. I don't know. But I understand like wanting the neckline in the, because you don't pick up stitch. That's the finished neckline. You don't pick up stitches.
Right. That's the edge.
That's the edge. I'm thinking about it. I don't know. Yeah.
I did that edge on the Falling Waters? Mm-hmm. It was the one I did in cashmere, the cashmere sweater that I have with the Fibonacci stripes. I did that edging, and it had a description of how to do the Kitchener. It's called a sewn bind off, I think, is the name of it.
Okay, I'm going to write this down.
It had a description.
What's it called
of
again?
How to do it.
Sewn bind off?
Sewn bind off, okay. Yeah. And it had a description of how to do it on one needle, and I could not make that work. And so I don't remember that I did anything different than regular Kitchener. I think I finally just put the stitches on 2 different needles and Kitchenered them in the ordinary way, if I'm remembering correctly. And the edge, it does look like the toe of a sock. I mean, that edge is just totally rounded. It's a nice bind off to do. I don't think you need to do it in pattern. I think you can just do a regular.
Okay.
So yeah, I do think that I would say maybe it might be good to swatch it first, just to make sure. Or maybe you just do the first part of it if your yarn that's a sturdy enough yarn. Maybe you just consider, do the first part of it and see how it looks, and consider that your swatch. But I don't remember doing anything special in the Kitchener. But you know what? It was a long time ago that I made that cashmere sweater, the cardigan. Yeah. So
I also, when I was searching, somebody actually had the bind off. Did a YouTube tutorial for the bind off specifically for the weekender. Oh, and I could not wrap my head around what they were doing at all.
Huh?
Because it says you're supposed to use an extra needle. So you have your 2 needles with the knit stitches and one with the purl stitches, and then you have another needle. And you bind off with that other needle, but then the tutorial is with a not a knitting needle, but a needle for that we use for Kitchener stitch.
And that's what I did.
And so I was so confused by the whole thing. I was so confused, and so as I say, I don't love it, but I'll go look up the sewn bind off and see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
Okay. All right. And then the other thing I'm going to say, what I think is interesting about this pattern is, and maybe because it is a large sweater, it's supposed to have a lot of ease, but you know how normally under the arm, you allow extra stitches? This is basically, you just knit up and then you just split off to the front and the back. Oh. So usually there's 8, 6, 8, 10, depending on the sweater, stitches under the arm. And I thought, okay, I must have this wrong. I've read the pattern over and over and over again. I don't see anywhere in there where they tell you to. So I think, but maybe because I'm worried about how that's going to fit, right? Don't you need to have those extra stitches in there but maybe because this is a sweater with a lot of ease. Yeah. A lot of people have made this sweater. So let me know. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know. But anyway.
I think, it's more in the style of a sweater that's a big rectangular tube with 2 smaller rectangular tubes off the side. Yeah. Kind of that style of sweater. Yeah, so maybe it's in that those style
80s, those 80, Kelly, it's like those 80s sweaters that we made.
That's right. Well, you made. I wasn't knitting.
We complain about.
Yeah, I wasn't knitting in those days, but yes.
Yes. That I didn't like because I could never get my coat over all that fabric under the arm. Maybe that's what I'm going to end up with.
Exactly.
Anyway, but I'd say it's flying. I'm flying through it just because it's on size 8 needles and it's such simple knitting,
yeah.
But anyway, so that's basically all I have to report on.
Okay.
So how about you?
I actually have a lot this time, surprisingly.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So I'm currently knitting on my first sleeve of Graffito. In the last episode, I finished or almost was finished with the ribbing on the body. And then I started on the sleeve. And I first started with double points because I didn't have a needle. I could not find, I thought I had a long floppy cabled number 3 needle, and I could not find it. So I have a 4, and maybe that's what I was thinking of, was the size 4 needle that I have in that. It's like a Chowgu or something. Anyway, couldn't find that. And so then I decided to use double points. I have tons of double points. So I found, the double points, and I put them in there, the aluminum needles. And I remembered what you had said about doing the double tuck stitch with, you had even just used magic loop, that it was challenging. And so I thought, okay, this is probably going to be a mistake. And so I started it, and it was a mistake on double points. So then I went back. I let it sit for a while. I even thought about buying needles, and I thought, oh, that's ridiculous. Get in there and search. So I went into my cupboard and I searched through the needles, and I was going to grab that before today. But anyway, I have this needle gauge from Invictus Yarns, and it has multiple holes for the small sizes. So like for size, it has crochet and knitting, I think, or maybe it's just US and millimeters. Anyway, what I discovered is that what is called a US 2, for example, might actually be a 2 that's a little bigger than, there's maybe 2 or 3 different size 2s and 2 or 3 different size 3s. With size 3 is what I was looking for. And I thought, okay, this is kind of cool that I have this needle gauge from Invictus. So I took it and I went through my closet, and the hanging needle holder, I had lots of needles that were not put back into their little slots. And so I got that out and I organized things a little bit. And then I actually found some size 3 needles that were, went in the actual same size 3 hole as the needles I had been using. And they were a little bit, I think they're 6-inch cables. So they're sleeve sized. They felt a little bit big when I first started. And I messaged you, and you said you would send me your longer ones, but I don't think I'm going to need them now that I've got a little bit of,
okay.
You know how when you do a hat too, sometimes it feels like the needles are not quite, they're a little bit too big and things are a little bit too stretched out, but then once you get some fabric, it's fine. So far it's going well. I'm down to, so right away you do a double tuck stitch, and then you do 17 rounds. And I did that, did another double tuck stitch. And then you do 25 rounds and do another round of the double tuck stitch. And that's where I am now. So now I just need to knit 33 rounds of the main color and then do another double tuck stitch row. And then I think when I get to the forearm, I'm going to grab one of the patterns from the yoke. I think I'm going to do the one with the dots. It's like 2 purl rows, a stockinette, and then 3 purl rows. But in the stockinette, there's these they're like French knots kind of, but they're not French knots, but they're little dots. And I think I'm going to use that little motif at the bottom of my sleeve, down toward the forearm, closer to where I bind off. But right now I'm just moving my way down the sleeve, and, I'm starting to do some sleeve decreases. It, has you decreasing every, 13 rows, I think. Anyway, I'm starting to do the sleeve decreases, and I was worried that as I began to do the sleeve decreases, that this needle wouldn't be the right size, but it's still working. So I think I'm going to be able to go all the way down to the bottom with this particular needle. We'll see. I'll let you know if I feel like I need the magic loop.
I have a question. Are you carrying the contrast color down the sleeve? Like, did you carry it down the body and then down the sleeve, or did you break it?
I carried it at first when the stripes were small. And then once they got to the bigger swaths of stockinette of the main color, I broke it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm breaking it now.
Okay.
I'm not carrying it. I think I carried it along. Let me just look. I carried it along in the 17 row swath. And then I decided, you know what? I'm not doing that any further. And I just broke it off. 25 rounds is a lot to carry a color. And you know what? I don't mind weaving in ends. So that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm making progress. Finally making progress on graffito. I need to get this done by knockers. So I've got a deadline.
Yes, because we're wearing them, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So
I have to remember that to pack it.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where I am. And I was really I have multiple yarn gauges or needle gauges that I have in different places, but I put this Invictus one. I swapped it out for the plastic one that I had in the closet because it has so many more gradations. And I thought, you know what, this could have been, some of the times when things turned out a little bit tighter than I expected. That could have been, I don't often knit like a sweater out of size 2s, but even the size 3s, there's different size 3s. And so I thought this is the needle gauge I'm going to use when I select my needles from. So then the other thing I finished, I might have been finished the last time we recorded and I didn't really remember to talk about it. But I finished the 2-ply skein of Tunis yarn that I was spinning. And I finally washed it. So it may have been finished spinning, but not finished being washed. It turned out really nice. It's a 2-ply. I folded a little bit in the washing, kind of washed it a little harshly to make it puff up. And it's surprisingly silky and soft compared to what I thought it was going to be from the roving. So that was kind of a nice surprise. And then the other thing, thinking about your dry desert and humid Seattle, when I first started spinning it, I thought I remembered that it was 5.5 ounces. And so I spun it and wound it up, wound it off and everything. And then I weighed it. And what I found when I weighed it, I was thinking I remembered it was significantly less than 5 ounces. And I was thinking, I think I gave a sample to someone. That's why my skein only weighed like 4 point something. And then I weighed it today and it's 6.4 ounces. Now, some of that is the ties because I tied it with string. I didn't have extra yarn, so I grabbed the first thing that was available, which was a cording string, like package twine or kitchen twine.
Yeah.
So that's some of the weight, but I didn't put that many ties on it to make it that much. But I'm wondering, because it's raining today, I'm wondering if maybe the humidity in the air, if some of that discrepancy is just the humidity in the air.
It's possible.
Because I know wool does absorb water. It does absorb moisture without feeling wet. So
Kelly, does that explain my weight gain from my time in the desert? It's all hydration.
Exactly, yes. So yeah, my skein, either I measured wrong or my skein gained weight. But it's a really nice fluffy skein, and it was a fun spin. I did it woolen spun, mostly woolen spun. Didn't care about how thick or thin it was, and then did a 2-ply, and I was really pleased with the results.
Nice.
So there's that project finished, and then I'm going to talk about something that I already said was finished, but is not really finished. And I'm just now calling it the Sewing with Hand Woven Fabric Project. Because I said I wasn't going to talk about it again until it was done. But I have all of the curtain fabric. I zigzagged it. I cut the pieces, the panels in half. And then I pressed all of the hem edges. And I hemmed all of them yesterday. Well, yeah, no, I started the project on Saturday and I finished it yesterday. So I got all 8 of the curtain panels. Actually, there's more than 8. There's 4 and 4 and 2. So 11 curtain panels. All of them hemmed and ready to go.
Congratulations.
I think I'm going to, yeah, thank you. I do think, because I was really wanting to err on the side of having too much fabric rather than too little. I do have extra. I think I do have extra fabric that I'm going to have to cut off before I sew the casings. And so I am going to have to zigzag and, measure, zigzag and cut one more time. But I have the hems done. So I can make sure that the hems go to the length that I want.
Yeah.
So I have to get in the trailer and do that, measuring one last time with the fabric actually there with me. And it's not critical that they be exact. I want them long enough to cover the window molding. But on the dining room side, the driver's side, that one window, the table is there, and there's a little shelf at the wall where the table is, and I don't want the curtains to be touching the shelf. And so there's that one window has a pretty small margin, pretty small air tolerance between getting it long enough to cover the molding of the window, but not so long that it bumps up on the shelf. So that one, I really want to actually take the fabric in and pin it and see exactly where that casing has to be. So the other ones have a little bit more margin for error. So that's where that project is. And then I started working on getting the rust off of the heddles, cleaning up the tarnish. There was some tarnish, a lot of dirt, some rust on the heddles. So I took the heddles off of the loom that I'm refurbishing, and I, cleaned them in vinegar with a scrubby, and then I, soaked them in vinegar in a tub, and then scrubbed them off, and also used a little bit of Barkeeper's Friend, and got them all nicely cleaned up and dried. And then I took there's some flat stock metal that the heddles hang on, and that was really pretty rusty, but it was easy to clean. So I took those out and cleaned those. I have about half of those left to clean still. So the progress on, cleaning up this loom and getting it ready is moving along. I have decided for sure that I'm going to put cords on the back beam, and I'm not going to drill through it. I got from Mary and Kathy, shout out to both of them, sent me pictures of how their cords are attached to the back beam without having holes drilled in the beam. So, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to attach the cord probably with screws, and then loop the Texol over the screw. So that'll work, I think. And then I'm buying the apron for the front beam. So that project is moving a little bit. It's going kind of slowly because I've got so many projects. In fact, let me just say, between work projects and school and home projects, and then the world, I had a day last week where I went to work and I had so many things I needed to do, but there was so much on my mind that all I could do was clean my office.
I totally understand.
Yeah. Oh, it was like I have all these things to do, and I have this big chunk of time to do them, and I just can't get myself settled. And so I just went and got a bottle of water out of the bathroom, and I already had a roll of towels from the bathroom that I had squirreled away, and I took everything off my desk, everything off my window ledge, dusted everything, washed everything, scrubbed the spots on the floor. I mean, we have a janitor, and so, a lot of this stuff gets done, but like getting to my window ledge is a little bit tricky, and the window doesn't close quite as well as it should. and I face north and the wind comes from that direction. So there's always dust, dirt, actually not just dust, but like dirt comes through the window. And so I scrubbed the window ledge. A couple of scuff marks on the floor. I threw away books or, took them to put in the recycle bin. I went through one of my drawers and got stuff out of it. I just couldn't focus on anything. I just had to clean.
Yeah.
Which is not like me. I'm not much of a cleaner, but that day. So I do feel like I have, getting these curtains done will get a project off my plate. And getting this sweater done will get a project off my plate.
Yeah.
And I think I need some of these long-term projects to just I just need to spend the time to get them off my plate because with everything else, it's just I have too many things happening all at once.
Yeah.
to be able to deal with. So anyway, I was glad to find out what to do about the loom because now I can actually make the order and get going on this project a little bit more too.
Yeah. Yeah. I just say when I worked, sometimes I would come in the morning and I thought I have so much, exactly what you were talking about. I have so much to do. I can't start any of it till I clean my desk. and then part of the process of cleaning the desk was to sort things and then, but so I completely understand how that is. And even here sometimes.
Yeah. I didn't even really, my desk wasn't messy from the standpoint of, it's been bad, right? I'm not saying I always have a clean desk because I don't. But now that a lot of the stuff, a lot of the paper assignments, mail is electronic, there's a lot less of that. I have a lot less of that to deal with than I used to. So it wasn't even really about sorting what was on my desk. It was I just needed the cleaning vibe or whatever.
I think in times like this, I think the thing about the cleaning is it's something we can control. There's so much that we cannot control in the world that's upsetting to us. And so cleaning, you can control it. And there's a real definite start and finish and a sense of accomplishment, so it's, Yeah.
And the curtains this weekend, a lot of ironing. A lot of ironing. And that was really nice too, because ironing is one of those things that makes me feel like I can control my world a little bit better. And smoothing everything out. So, so that was soothing. And then another project that I started, which I had no business starting, was I don't know if I had started it at our last episode. I don't think so. Oh, maybe I had. I started some dish towels in some spring colors in M's and O's, which Jane Stafford's little lesson on M's and O's, she talks about how it is called, in some places it's called buckens and owls. So I guess the owls are the O's. I can't remember. I did look it up, what a bucking is, and I can't remember what it is. So, but that's what the M's and the O's are, like the owl faces. So that's the threading that I used. And again, this is another thing, threading all those, threading the reed, threading the heddles, taking all that, all those threads that are all feeling disorganized and sliding them through their slots. There's just something very soothing about that when the world is a little crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just going back to this trip to California, my brother's house, he needed all of the, the kitchen cabinets lined with that plastic stuff that, like, you have it in your cupboards, I have it in my cupboards. And so I did all of that. And there was one day where he was gone for about 3 hours taking care of whatever he needed to take care of. And it was very satisfying to just have music playing, and just measuring and cutting and fitting and wiping. And and to see the progress of empty and then clean and new lining. And I had put, to keep track of what I had cleaned, what cabinets I had cleaned, I put little pieces of painter's tape on them. And then at the end, like I'd finish a cabinet and I would pull that painter's tape off. Very satisfying. To escape into that. So, meditative and just, and I thought a lot about weaving, honestly, while I was doing all of it, and projects. And so, thinking about all kinds of things. All right. Anything else?
Nope. That is all. I went from having one project last episode. I think I had one active project to now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One's a finished project. So I have 4 active projects now.
Well, I have to figure out what I'm going to do because Knockers, the retreat in San Juan Bautista is happening, April 10th? And so I'm driving down to attend that with you. And I realized that the sweater will probably be done because it's funny. I don't think I travel that much, but when I actually stop and think about it, I'm traveling a lot because we're headed to the beach on Wednesday. We had booked this back in November to go down to the Washington coast. We have a week in March, and then I come down to Knockers in April, and then we have another week in May at the beach, the same house. And but I was not planning on this trip to Rancho Mirage. That was sprung on me. So I'm home today and tomorrow, and then when we leave Wednesday for the beach. So I'm not going to, so I'm going to be at the beach for a week. So I'm going to have to, I'll finish, I may finish the sweater. I'm going to bring my spinning as well. So I may not finish it, but my point is I'm going to need a project for Knockers.
You need trip knitting, retreat knitting.
I need retreat knitting, and it has to be a very specific project, right? It has to be something that, this actually the weekender would have been the perfect retreat knitting because it's it's pretty easy, but I'm going to have to figure out something. Or maybe I just bring small projects, maybe I don't need to have a big sweater. I could just do a bunch of hats and spinning.
Yeah. I had fun. I think I'm going to bring my drum carder this year, depending on the weather, because, but I think that's what I'm going to bring this year is more, another carding project. And then, and then I think if I'm knitting, like in the evenings, I may just do what I've done before, where I just find something from the de-stash room, and knit a hat or. I haven't thought that far ahead, honestly. My life is too chaotic right now.
I know. It honestly just occurred to me today or last night when I was doing the show notes. I thought, I'm going to have to think about that. So, but you know what, Kelly? I can't even believe this, but we could even go there and not knit. We could just sit there.
We could.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
No. But, it maybe will be a spinning project. I maybe bring my spinning wheel and the drum carder.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Okay. Well, so we should also just say winter reave along. It's the last push because what is today? What is today again, Kelly? It's the 17th. Of March.
Yep. It's the last push.
It's the last push for the winter weave along. It ends March 31st. So I got to get going. So when I come back from the beach, it's the 26th, I believe. So I'll have a few days to finish down to the wire, right?
Well, we'll give you a little grace period, Marsha, if you don't quite get finished by the 31st. But definitely be finished by the time you come down to Knockers.
Yes, I'm going to, because I'll bring the towels so you can see them. And then last year, do you remember last year I had made the alpaca shawl and then we washed it at your house And I packed it. I brought it to California with the intention of bringing it to the Knockers retreat. And I completely forgot to take it from your house and bring it. And our friend Pat wanted to see it. And I'm like, oh crap, I completely forgot it. So I will try, I'll bring it. It's now so old, probably people don't care anymore, but I will bring it because, because I mean, it's nice to show projects to experienced weavers to get some feedback about what I should maybe do differently or whatever.
I seem to remember, maybe it wasn't your project, maybe it was one of mine, but I have a nail brush that I use to brush fabric after I've woven it, like a wool fabric, to get it to be kind of, just lift up the fibers and get it to be a little bit more halo. Did we do that with your shawl? I can't remember.
No, we did not do that because, and I do remember you said to use a nail brush when I got home to do that, but I don't have a nail brush.
Okay.
So, and I probably got home and forgot about it too, honestly, Kelly. Yeah. So maybe I don't have a nail brush. I guess I could go buy one and then see if I could brush it.
If you bring it, come down, you can use mine. If you're bringing it, just okay. Yeah, just try it. Try mine.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I'll pack it and I'll bring it. Yeah. But what I've really been thinking about, though, I want to do more towels, but I've been really thinking about those rag rugs. And I was, in fact, when I was helping my brother at his house here in Seattle go through clothing, like he got rid of 7 bags of clothing, which I'm going to cross my fingers about that, the 7 bags of clothing. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last episode, but one of the things he got rid of course, is a lot of winter clothes, right? That he's not going to need anymore. And it made me, but anyway, and he also got rid of a lot of his linens. Like, it's a good time to look at those sheets. Like, I don't even use those sheets anymore. So get rid of them. And he had 2 sets of flannel sheets. And I thought, oh, maybe I should keep those and make rugs out of them. And then I thought, no, I'm not, because one was like beige.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to use that. And the other one was like a pinstripe or something very subtle and plain. I thought, no, you don't want rag rugs. Well, I don't think I think in my mind, rag rugs should be bright and colorful, but that doesn't mean they have to be that way. But I just thought, you know what, give those sheets away. And there's no point in hanging on to them because I don't think I want those colors. But the reason I cross my fingers about getting rid of things is and talking about projects for knockers, is what I really should do is finish that sweater that I started for him so long ago. It's that Faroese yarn. And I was thinking, why finish it now? He's never going to wear it, right? Yeah. But anyway, I was thinking maybe I should pull that out and just finish that thing because it's going to go pretty fast, I think, because it's such big needles. I think they're 9s or 10s I'm using to knit that thing. So I should... I don't want to do something I have to fiddle with. I want something. I don't want to knit on anything I have to think about at a retreat.
Right.
You don't want to think at the retreat.
And you want to knit on something that's not like an obligation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I don't know if I mentioned this in that last episode too, but about those 7 bags of clothing, Ben took the clothing because they were having a party at his house. They have different gatherings at his house every Thursday, do art projects, and they do people can come to the house and they make dinner, and then people can bring whatever art project they're working on, or sometimes they have everybody has to go out and make a 3-minute video and then show the video. So they do all kinds of fun things. I mean, I sound super fun anyway, but he said he took the 7 bags of clothes because that Thursday they were going to have a clothing exchange. Oh. So everybody was just going to bring bags of clothing that they didn't want anymore and lay it all out and people could pick. And he said everybody loved Mark's clothes and he had these really nice lamb's wool vests, which I thought no young man's going to wear one of those old man lamb's wool vests. He said everybody wanted them. And he had these sort of corduroy pants, kind of a, not wide wale but kind of a wider, not a fine corduroy pants. Yeah. And he said, they were the kind, they were old, so old that they had pleats, but apparently pleats are coming back in. And they wanted that. He said those pleated corduroy pants, he said, were like the hottest ticket item.
How funny.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Anyway, what goes around comes around in terms of style, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I took my hats to the table at school where they have things for people to, they can just take for free. Mm-hmm. So I took my knitted hats there, and Betty had an emotional support chicken. So I took the chicken and left it at the office right across from where the free table is for them to have. They really liked it. And then I brought books the day I was on my mad office cleaning spree. I had some books like mathematical and logic puzzles from years ago. Anyway, I took all those puzzle books and put them out, and they're gone. It's kind of funny because I do go back to check to see if it's, if stuff is gone or not. And everything I've put out there has gone pretty quickly. So it's kind of nice to know you have a place for stuff to go, like that Mark's Clothes had a place to go. Mm-hmm. And where someone would appreciate them and, could use them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then, how I have to laugh about this too, changes in his situation. We talked about, you put things out on the street and just watch them go, or you had your yards, quote unquote, sale where people could just make a donation. But you can put stuff out like that in a housing a gated community with an HOA.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You cannot do that.
Right.
You can't even park your car on the street overnight. It has to be garage, or in your driveway. Mm-hmm. So I like, the downside, like he could have gotten rid of all that furniture. He could just put it out on the street, but nope, can't do that now.
Well, and there it probably wouldn't have gone. You have to have the right street with the right kind of traffic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because there's no traffic. It's the only people who are going in there are the residents. Yeah. You have to put it out on but then they're going by at 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Oh my gosh. Anyway. All right. Well, is that it,
I think
Kelly? We covered everything?
I think we have, Marsha. I think we have.
We've exhausted this podcast. Okay. We probably exhausted our listeners.
Well, there's always topics of conversation.
We never have a problem talking about stuff.
No.
Like ever.
No, ever. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Ever. Okay. Well, we will stop talking now and we'll talk in 2 weeks.
All right.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.